AM 1380, The Answer.
Thank you, Dave. 6 minutes after 7, AM 1380, The Answer. And 1 hour from now, we'll be joined by Katie Grimes of Flash Report for a fascinating hour of informed chat. Because Katie's informed. I don't know squat. Anyway, let me get to the phones here. I want to talk with Dan in Sonoma. Hey, Dan, before we talk about anything to do with public policy, I have to ask, do you have Paul Goldschmidt?
I do not have Paul Goldschmidt. He was too expensive in our fantasy draft.
I have to believe, and especially if you price players accordingly, he's got to be one of the most expensive offensive players in the league and one of the first 4 or 5 guys taken.
Well, I tried to be very careful with what funds I had for the draft, and currently I woke up this morning, I'm in first place.
Oh, well, nicely done. It's been a good first couple of weeks for Dan from Sonoma.
So far, so good, but again, you have to budget properly. I like the Roto League because it's more realistic. You only have so much money. You have to be very careful and then study, who's doing what.
Sean asked if I'd done this before, and I suppose I could say I have. A few years ago, one of my actor friends, David Silberman, I should say, who lives up in Grass Valley or Nevada City someplace. We were doing a show together down at B Street, and we were both baseball nuts, and he was talking about there's this online thing you can do, and I'm trying to remember what it's called now. It's like this online rotisserie league where you have a set budget they give you, and Dan, you're drafting historical baseball players.
That would be very interesting.
It is interesting, and they're priced accordingly, and you put together a team, and there's different leagues they set up, and it computer crunches the games.
That's cool. That's just cool on the face.
It was interesting to build a team that way. I tried to build a team built around pitching and defense. I tried to go for Gold Glovers at every position, and it didn't work out.
Everybody goes for the home run hitter, but I don't have a problem with being a Cubs fan and doing the fantasy baseball. I actually think it enhances my appreciation for the game.
Take that, Sean.
I disagree.
Take that, Dan.
Cynics. Anyway, Facebook. This story for Facebook, Zuckerberg being on the Hill and so forth, Phil, the media is just all over this. They are paying way too much attention to this story, which I don't think is a very big story at all. But like CBS Radio stopped their top-of-the-hour news, which they rarely do, just to hear what Zuckerberg had to say, which is just completely stupid.
Yeah, I'm with you. I certainly don't want to dismiss it as meaningless, but I don't think it's the most important thing going on in the world today. And network news covered it like it was. Right. Again, I object to the fact, Dan, that they keep covering it like this is the first time they've ever mined data for political purposes. Come on, the Obama campaign did it, and they called it genius. Now they're all worried about it. And B, if people are that worried about it, get off Facebook.
Well, one of my problems I had is, as you are leading up to, this is still a private company.
Yeah.
And what a private company does and how it operates its business is not the government's business. I'm extremely resentful that the government is trying to regulate and dictate what this guy can do.
Yeah, if somebody's going to hold him accountable, it should be their shareholders.
Absolutely. And it's laughable that some of these senators saying that he doesn't trust Zuckerberg. He doesn't like. He's not trusting that he's going to do the right thing and change things. Now Zuckerberg's a big liberal. He's going to just follow along with whatever they say. If I was Zuckerberg and that was my company, I'd be ripping into each and every senator.
Yeah, it is kind of odd that, and especially given the nature of that business, that it's some kind of monopoly. Listen, nobody needs what he's got. It's not like we're talking about phone service or internet service or anything else. It's not a utility anyone needs. It is a strictly voluntary association of people. To act like he's monopolizing anything strikes me as a bit odd.
Well, the problem is, that the government's going to use this as an excuse to regulate this and put restrictions on that, and it's all going to come down to you and I having less and less of our First Amendment rights and so forth.
I would agree. And listen, I don't have, and I'll say again, if Facebook wants to censor conservative viewpoints. I object to that, but my objection takes the form of I'm getting off Facebook.
That's correct. Free market, you can choose something else, and it doesn't say that another company can't start up and challenge Facebook.
No question about it. The idea that it's somehow a monopoly strikes me as odd.
Well, this is government at work again. Switching gears to a guy who I rarely listen to, Michael Savage. I just happened to listen to his show at the beginning of his show yesterday. Why? I had nothing better to do. But anyway, I continue to be amazed, Phil, at how this guy got as far as he did in radio. He's sort of like the Howard Stern of conservative radio. He's not a conservative. He's not very smart, in my opinion. He thinks he's a great intellect. Anyway, he was blathering on and on about President Trump possibly getting us into war and putting most of the blame on John Bolton, basically saying John Bolton is a war hawk. He's going to make the wrong call. And what bothers me the most is that there is so much misinformation regarding a very delicate situation. The person that's handling this correctly is the president himself. This is a guy that is not afraid to take on any problems that is put in front of him. He's dealing with it head on. He's making his stand. He's not backing away. He doesn't care what his critics say. And guess what? He's getting the job done.
Yeah. And the bottom line to me, Dan, is your last sentence. He's getting the job done. And he's doing the job he promised he would do when he ran.
He is, and again, he's not afraid of his critics, and this is why I'm sticking to my prediction I made last week. This wall will be built. If not completed, it'll at least be started by summer.
Yeah. I think it'll be started. In fact, there are already a couple of sections, really problematic areas, where they're already getting ready to start, I think.
What I'm curious, though, is I'm very surprised that this Governor Brown, allowed 400 troops to go to the border.
I find that curious as well. For those who didn't catch that in the news, Jerry Brown has said he will send 400 National Guard troops to the border, but they wouldn't do anything about border enforcement with regards to immigration, only in trying to stem criminality like drug smuggling and the like. I'm surprised he even did that.
But I made the connection to my prediction that since the National Guard is in place or will be in place very soon, it sets the stage for a construction of the wall.
I think it does, too. And this thing with Jerry Brown makes me wonder what it is the feds have that he wants that this will either keep in place, this sending 400 National Guard troops to the border, or give him a shot at. There is something of value he wants, otherwise he wouldn't do this.
I think you're right about that. We'll find out in short order. But yeah, he doesn't do things because he's a fan of Donald Trump.
No, and he's certainly not a fan of enforcing the law.
Oh yeah,
and holding criminals accountable. That's not been his history.
I'll let you go on this, my friend. You and I are both in the same boat regarding our baseball team.
Oh man, the Cubs. Gee.
It's going to be a tough year, but guess what? It's still April. Lots of things can happen. Lots of changes can happen. But with your Dodgers, though, I am sticking to the other prediction that I made that Dave Roberts will be out of a job if he doesn't get his act together this year.
I have shared that claim with others and with my daughter, and she went, "Whoa, that's a bold prediction." And I said, "You know why? Because he stinks." I don't think he's a good manager, and I don't think he learned anything last year in the postseason, and he should have.
No, he didn't. He was in. You guys are in the same boat that Dan from Elk Grove's Mets were in. They had a good team, but terrible management. And remember, the Cubs and Dodgers both have a huge payroll, and the higher ups know that we're giving you everything you've got. If you can't figure this team out, you need to go.
Yeah. Well, and I think the reason that the Dodgers backed away from a couple of high-priced free agents and other talents that were available to them on the market was because they're going to shed a couple of big contracts at the end of the season, and it will put them in a position to go after what is going to be at the end of this year one of the best free agent classes maybe ever, including Bryce Harper and a couple of other folks.
Well, this goes back to the fantasy baseball because you have to study guys in the farm system. There's a lot of young talent that's out there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no question about it. In fact, there's a lot of speculation that the Cubs want to make a run at Bryce Harper because he and Chris Bryant are both from Vegas and have been friends for years.
That would be an expensive
It would be
purchase.
expensive, but man, he would tear up Wrigley Field.
Oh, without question. Oh, boy. Now you got me going. I'm going to be dreaming about another World Series.
There you go. All right, Dan, I leave you with that.
Thanks, bud.
Talk to you later. Thanks. It's 16 past 7 a.m., 1380 The Answer, the Phil Cowan program. I have to tell you, yesterday when my phone went off and you heard that rim shot, that is my sign that I got a text.
Yes.
My wife, it was my wife who had
Of
sent
course.
that. Because we were talking about Chicago.
What did you say?
What she was texting was, we were talking about Chicago, and you went, nah, Wrigley's the only reason to go there. And my wife had texted, hey, Chicago has great museums. Well, she had pulled over. She was in the neighborhood on her way home. She pulled over to the side of the road to send that text because she was being safe. She sent the text, put it down. She still had the radio on, and she starts to drive away. And she hears the rim shot, and she starts looking around going, did Phil leave his phone in the car? And before she realized, oh, it's with him in the studio, and I'm hearing it there. He doesn't have the volume down. 17 after 7 a.m., 1380 The Answer, the Phil Cowan Show. We'll be back.